Have you ever noticed how some people drain the air out of a room the moment they walk in? Maybe it's the colleague who wraps every conversation in complaints, or the friend who always manages to turn your victories into their tragedies. Toxic people don't just create bad vibes, they can quietly poison your energy, your confidence, and even your sense of self-worth. But here's the catch. Sometimes you can't cut them out completely. Maybe they're family. Maybe they're coworkers. Maybe they're so deeply entangled in your circle that walking away feels impossible. So the real question becomes, how do you keep your distance without starting a war? How do you protect yourself while still appearing polite, calm, even gracious? That's the dark psychology of boundaries, and once you understand it, you'll never let anyone steal your peace again. Toxicity thrives on closeness. These people want access to your time, your attention, your reactions. The more you give, the more they take. But here's the twist. You don't need to fight them head-on. You don't need to make dramatic speeches or cut ties in a blaze of glory. You can do something far more subtle, far more elegant. You can starve them of what they crave while still appearing civil. In other words, you can use distance as your quiet weapon. Think of it like this. Imagine your personal space as a fortress. Toxic people are not storming the gates with swords, they're slipping through the cracks with smiles, guilt trips, and endless small demands. If you slam the gates shut with force, they'll attack harder. But if you quietly reinforce the walls, leaving fewer openings, they simply find it harder and harder to get in. That's how polite distance works. You create walls without building scenes. One of the simplest ways to do this is through controlled availability. Toxic people thrive when they feel they can reach you anytime, anywhere. They send long texts at midnight. They demand instant replies. They corner you for quick chats that last an hour. The antidote is to train them slowly and quietly that your time is scarce. Reply later, not instantly. Keep your answers shorter, not colder, but firmer. When you see them in person, excuse yourself sooner. These tiny adjustments send one loud message without words. Access to you is limited, and that limitation is where your power begins. But here's what makes this strategy brilliant. From the outside, you're not cutting them off. You're not even being rude. You're simply living your life on your terms. To them, it looks like you're busy, focused, independent. To you, it's a shield. And because you've kept it polite, they have little room to accuse you of being cruel or dramatic. You're not feeding the fire, they are starving in silence. In a moment, I'll show you how tone and body language can help you distance yourself without ever saying, stay away. But first, let's understand the psychology behind why politeness works so well. Toxic people often thrive on conflict. They want you to snap, to argue, to break down. When you fight back loudly, they get fuel. But when you respond calmly, politely, with a smile even, they hit a wall. There's no fire to spread. There's nothing to push against. And because humans are wired to avoid wasted effort, they eventually turn their energy elsewhere. By the way, if you find this kind of breakdown useful, make sure you hit subscribe right now. That way you won't miss the next video where we'll uncover even more subtle psychological strategies to protect your peace and take control of your life. Now let's get into tone and body language. You've probably heard the phrase, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. With toxic people, that couldn't be more true. When you need to decline an invitation or stop a draining conversation, you don't need long excuses. You simply need calm certainty. A neutral voice, steady eye contact, and minimal explanation. Sorry, I can't. That's it. No long stories. No apologies stacked on top of apologies. Because every extra word becomes an opening they can exploit. And here's a powerful trick. Use the power of micro smiles. When you say no with a small, calm smile, it disarms aggression. It leaves them with no hooks to grab onto. They can't call you rude. They can't call you hostile. All they can do is accept the boundary even if it frustrates them. It's polite on the surface, but underneath, it's pure steel. Now think about body language. Toxic people often lean in literally and metaphorically. They crowd your space. They try to pull you closer. The counter move? Step back slowly, angle your body slightly away, break eye contact a little sooner. These are subtle signals that scream distance without a single word. They work on an instinctive level because humans are deeply attuned to spatial cues. You don't need to argue. Your body already delivered the message. Here's the secret that many people miss. Politeness is not weakness. In fact, it's one of the strongest shields you can carry. Because while toxic people thrive on chaos, you operate from calm. And calm is terrifying to someone who only knows how to provoke. Think of it like emotional judo. You're not fighting force with force, you're redirecting it, letting it collapse under its own weight. Let's take a common scenario. A toxic coworker corners you at the office, unloading gossip or criticism. The natural instinct might be to fight back, defend yourself, or escape with an excuse. Instead, you can use polite deflection. A short acknowledgement, "I hear you," paired with a quick change of subject or a graceful exit. No drama, no oxygen for their fire. And the more consistently you do this, the less rewarding you become as a target. Eventually, even the most persistent energy leeches move on, searching for easier prey. But distance is not just about what you do in the moment. It's about the structures you build into your life. One powerful method is what I call the selective spotlight. Toxic people want to be center stage in your mind. They want to feel like every thought revolves around them. So you politely shift the spotlight. Spend more energy investing in supportive relationships. Put more time into passions and projects that light you up. When they try to pull you back, you're already elsewhere, busy with something bigger. This isn't running away, it's reclaiming your space. Another underestimated tool is silence. Toxic people expect arguments, explanations, negotiations. Silence breaks the script. Imagine someone presses you with passive-aggressive comments, waiting for your defensive reaction. Instead, you pause. You let the silence hang for a second longer than comfortable. Then you give a short, polite closure, "I'll think about it." That silence is not emptiness, it's power. It signals that you won't be dragged into their storm. And here's something fascinating. Psychologists have long observed that humans are deeply uncomfortable with one-sided effort. When one person invests energy but gets little in return, they eventually burn out. This is exactly what polite distance does. You stop feeding the cycle. They push, you don't push back. They bait, you don't bite. To the outsider, you're still civil. But beneath the surface, you're starving the parasite. In a moment, I'll tell you the one mindset shift that locks this strategy into place for good. But first, let's look at the danger zone. Because here's the truth, toxic people won't always give up quietly. Sometimes, when they realize they're losing control, they escalate. They might guilt trip harder, spread rumors, or play the victim. This is where many people slip. They panic and over-explain, trying to prove their innocence. Don't. Remember the rule: polite, calm, limited. The more you try to clear your name in their game, the deeper you fall into their trap. Your best defense is consistency. A broken record of boundaries delivered with a smile. Now for the mindset shift. Stop seeing politeness as something you owe to others, and start seeing it as something you own for yourself. It's not about being nice to them, it's about protecting your peace without sacrificing dignity. You're not avoiding conflict because you're afraid. You're avoiding conflict because you're in control. Politeness is no longer compliance. It's camouflage. It's armor. It lets you move through toxic environments without absorbing the poison. So here's the final reflection. You don't need to cut people down to cut them out. You don't need to shout to be heard. True strength is quiet, steady, and unshakable. Toxic people only have as much power as you give them. And once you learn to politely step back, you discover something liberating. Distance doesn't create loneliness, it creates freedom. But here's the twist most people ignore. Sometimes the most toxic person in your life isn't out there, it's in your own head. It's the voice that convinces you to tolerate less than you deserve. And that's where the real work begins. In the next videos, we'll go even deeper into how to silence that voice, reclaim your energy, and build a mindset that no toxic influence can penetrate. So protect your fortress, reinforce your walls, smile as you walk away. And remember, your peace is not negotiable. If this helped you, don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment with your own experiences, and share this with someone who needs it. Because the more we learn to master these hidden dynamics, the less control toxicity has over our lives.